James Harden's career has peaked. It was called 2018 Game 7 against Golden State. One hamstring away from the finals. Since then, backwards. A Game 6 loss in the conference finals, a second round exit this year. Well, it looks like that sums up Harden's career. But it also looked like Russell Westbrook would be a Thunder for life. But as we've seen, anything can happen with this team. So in this video, we're looking at a huge Rockets offseason that's already started. Who will be the new coach to replace Mike D'Antoni? Will they need a new GM? What about a complete rebuild? We have no idea if it'll work, but it will be fun to watch them try. Hey, it's Casey. Welcome to AM Hoops. Hit subscribe and notification bells too, because we're coming out with 5 videos per week, always dropping at 5 Eastern. That is worth a subscribe. And if you're a Patreon member, that is worth a shout out. And today's Patreon shout out goes to Richard Fleming. He has been a really supportive and an awesome member of our Patreon. If you want to join Patreon, the link is down below in the description. The Rockets offseason basics, 0 cap space, but they've got the mid-level exception and the $3.6 million biannual exception, plus 4 small trade exceptions. Their draft pick, no first-round picks, no second-round picks, and that's their 5th straight year out of the first round. Their needs, coaching and championship-level talent. Free agents, no real big names. Jeff Green is probably the most relevant, but Mike D'Antoni is, and we'll get to that. Plus, Austin Rivers will probably opt out of his $2.4 million player option. But let's start with the coach. Mike D'Antoni went this whole year without a contract extension, and he has told the team he is moving on. And I think it's the right decision. Look, D'Antoni is a great coach, but I want to see someone else try with this roster. Earlier I said James Harden peaked. He has, not just in his career, but statistically. Under Mike D'Antoni these last 4 years, he has an assist title, 3 scoring titles, an MVP, and 0 finals appearances. I want to see how some other coach maximizes Harden in this roster. Reports say that Jeff Van Gundy is a candidate, but he's a traditional coach, and this is a weird roster. Instead, I would love to see Juwan Howard get this job. The Rockets need someone they can respect with 2 MVP veterans on their team. Howard is that. Forget some rising star in his 30s. Howard played in the league for 19 years with some of the most respected veterans in the game, including LeBron James. He comes from the Heat's culture, and he believes in small ball. He was one of the vets on LeBron James's Miami Heat team that played a lot without a traditional center. Howard is at Michigan right now. He recently said he's not pursuing NBA jobs, but what else is he supposed to say? Juwan Howard would be a great fit as the next Rockets head coach. And the next thing on our offseason list is this GM decision. Now, I think they would be insane to fire Daryl Morey. He'd be out of work for like 2 seconds because of what he's done in Houston. I mean, the city of Houston is not as glamorous or LA or Miami, but they have been relevant almost every year because Morey is a genius. They haven't kept their own top 10 pick since Yao Ming in 2002. But still, he is in trouble because the Hong Kong tweet cost this team a lot of money, and the Rockets haven't made the finals during his 15 years in charge. I feel exactly like Ramona Shelburne on this subject. At least the Rockets have gone for it. So many teams the last 5 years have looked at the Warriors and thought, that's a dynasty. We're not even going to try. We're just going to suck until they're done. No way. Daryl Morey has made crazy trades, super small ball to try to beat the Warriors. You have to respect that, even if they never made the finals. And next up, the big what if. A lot of people are asking, what if the Rockets just blow this whole thing up? Well, first off, this will not happen. I don't think it's a good idea too. But what if? Well, Houston would consider it because they think the roster can't go anywhere else, and the first move would be to trade James Harden to the Raptors for Kyle Lowry, OG Anunoby, and 3 first-round picks. This trade happens, and the Raptors go right to the top of Giannis's wish list. They would add Harden and still have room to pay Giannis in free agency if they replace Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka with minimum contracts. The Raptors' issue in these playoffs was offense. This trade takes care of that. The Rockets get the best young defender in the game and 3 picks to build with. The next move would be trading Russell Westbrook to the Knicks for Julius Randle, Taj Gibson, and Elfrid Payton. This is obviously a salary dump for the Rockets. Russell Westbrook's trade value is awful. I mean, you could say that he was bad because he had a knee injury, plus he was recovering from COVID, but in reality, he is a grumpy 31-year-old that can't win in the playoffs and who makes $131 million the next 3 years. No one wants that. The only possible team would be the Knicks, who need a star to attract other stars and have expiring contracts to make the money work. Now that is fun to think about, blowing it up, trading James Harden, but it will not happen because the Rockets have a superstar, which is the most rare thing in the NBA. How rare? The Bucks waited 44 years between Kareem and Giannis. The Rockets have to keep trying with James Harden unless he demands a trade. So before we look at trades and free agency to improve this team, we have to figure out what they're trying to improve, right? What's the problem? And it is not playing without a center. I mean, people thought that might kill their defense, but they were the best defensive team in the first round of the playoffs. The Lakers went small too because the Rockets dictated their lineups. No, the issue is talent. The Lakers were just a better team. There's no answer for LeBron James. Anthony Davis was good, not great, and they still won in 5 games. The Lakers trapped Harden, dared the other Rockets to beat him, and they couldn't. So the one trade the Rockets should make is LaMarcus Aldridge for a 2022 unprotected first and a bunch of players. But they would need to extend PJ Tucker before this trade and hope Austin Rivers picks up his option. Otherwise, they would have to include Robert Covington instead because the Spurs don't want Eric Gordon. LaMarcus Aldridge works in this lineup because he can shoot. I mean, they got rid of Clint Capella at center because he couldn't shoot. Think about if the Lakers double Harden now. You cannot leave Aldridge open. He will dominate on the block. The Spurs do this for an unprotected 2022 pick and expiring contracts. Let me know in the comments if you think LaMarcus Aldridge on the Rockets is crazy or what you would do instead, but it is really hard to find a workable trade for this team with this roster. In fact, I don't think a trade is likely at all. Instead, they should focus on these 2 free agents. Number 1 is Jeremy Grant. This is a skilled small ball player who brings defense and 3-point shooting. He had chemistry too with Russ in OKC, and he wants to win. Now, paying him would be difficult, I know, but a sign and trade would work if Denver agrees to add Eric Gordon. Next up, DeMarcus Cousins. We are talking realistic free agents here. This could happen. Boogie can be had too with a biannual exception, so there's a chance they add both him and Jeremy Grant. Cousins can stretch the floor, and if he's healthy, he can be an option to score when Harden is doubled and trapped. Obviously, that is a big if, but that's where the Rockets find themselves right now. Another free agent I've seen out there is Serge Ibaka, which would be a no-brainer for this small ball team, but they don't have the money to pay him. This is going to be a huge offseason full of creative moves, and I don't think that blowing it up or trading James Harden is the right idea. I cannot wait to see what they come up with instead. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.